Hi everyone, and welcome to our FCL podcast series. Today we're recording in a real tuition centre, so please bear with us if there's any odd background noises. My name's Ray Calder. I've been a centre manager for 4 years, and today I'm joined by Amisha and Jay, and this podcast is all about the support you need to be successful. So I'm going to introduce our guest today. So Amisha, hi. Tell us a little about yourself and your relationship with First Class Learning.
Yep, so I've been with First Class Learning since 2017, absolutely loving it, and I guess we're here today just to talk you through how we run and how brilliant it is.
Very good. And yourself, Jay?
Yeah, I'm Jay. I've been with First Class Learning since 2010, so well over 10 years now. I've really enjoyed the journey, watching the company and everything just grow has been amazing, so I'm happy to share that with you all today.
Excellent. I think growth is obviously going to be quite a big thing that we talk about today. So we're going to go right back to the start. So we're going to go through a series of questions, things that people often ask us. One of the first things to look at is during the first few months, FCL give everyone a discounted rate to get them started. How much of a difference do you think that makes if you're just starting out in a new business?
I think it helps massively, to be honest. So the first month is completely free of charge, and then the second month, the third month and the fourth month, we get 50% off. So I think we save a total of about £1,000. That helped me personally massively. The first couple of months, I really wanted to get myself on my feet, wanted to understand the materials myself, feel really confident. And that 4 months really, really helped me kickstart. And then I was raring to go by month 5.
Yeah, I think alongside the 4 month, we also get a mentor for 4 months. So it coincides nicely with how we're learning. It's almost like First Class Learning is almost like learning a new language. So getting your head around, all the modules and how to work with the children in different ways, how to implement the worksheet. So having the mentor alongside the adjustment of the monthly fee was really a bonus. And we think that by 4 months you should have a decent classroom set up where you feel confident and comfortable as a manager that you can run a centre quite successfully, and then you feel more comfortable about giving that monthly fee. So it is a two-way process, and it was it's a nice touch. It's quite generous, to be honest.
I mean, from my own perspective, I think it helps you relax a bit more because there's quite a bit of pressure when you're starting anything, isn't there? And then that's taken away through both the mentor and the sort of the discounted rate and things. And I think there's probably a lot of people who have some sort of concerns and things, so that helps a lot. Linking to that then, back to the start, we often get asked about the training. So if we can have a chat about how does training work? So, that must be an essential part of getting set up, and you've already touched on learning the materials, learning the program. And I think to really feel confident to be able to work with your first parent and child. So talk us through a little bit about the training that First Class Learning offer.
Us through how to assess these children on an individual basis, talk us through the national curriculum and go through step by step the maths and English programs. They also talk us through the marketing, the social media aspects, the business side of things. So you leave that training feeling, right, I can do this, I'm ready to go. So it's a great experience.
So I think one of the keys to training is that confidence, because it's like learning a new language, and it can be a bit daunting standing in front or going to see your first parent. So would you agree that sort of it's that first conversation with a parent, once you get used to it, it's better, but that first conversation, your training is very valuable for that?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, like you say, it is like learning a new language, and I think the first thing to remember for everyone is to be kind to yourself. You don't know what you're doing until you do it, and practice does polish it up and make it perfect. I like the training. First Class Learning is a modular-based system, so you can get your head around bits quite easily. And once you've done the training, you have full access to the Centre Manager portal. You'll get an operations manual, so that will have everything there for you at the ready. And when you start from the beginning of, introducing a parent to the system, you will start, even when the phone rings, how do I talk to a parent? There's guidance, there's policies, there's guidelines, there's best practice. There's a network of managers as well to tap into. So, it's baby steps. Take one step at a time, and as you develop, you will grow with your business. You will also grow with your own training. So it is about putting it all into practice.
It's an interesting point. So obviously we have the 3 days training. I'd never thought about that until you'd actually said that, Jan. That's right. You kind of have your own training. You have on-the-job training, and that's something that we perhaps don't think enough about. But that's key to it as well. And you're reacting to the needs of your community. So it links a little bit really to the next point that we wanted to cover, and that was the first-class learning model. What actually is that? How does that enhance the learning experience? How does it support us as managers? So I'm thinking of the programs, I'm thinking skills assessments, the progress test that we have as well. Obviously, we know that keeps people on track, learning pathways. So perhaps if we have a little conversation about that, the actual first-class learning model and how that builds that confidence that you are going to do your own training through them systems. So can we talk about some of them things, the first-class learning model?
Yeah, so we are a maths, English and recently science tuition provider. We cater for all ages from age 4 to 16. What I personally love about it is it's all based on the UK, United Kingdom national curriculum. It's all aligned to what the schools are teaching. But I just love the fact that it's all individualised learning as well. So although the children come in, they do their group tuition, they've all got their own individualised learning path. I love the fact that first class learning caters for every single child, and the materials are interesting. So I know a child after school probably doesn't want to go and learn extra work, but it's fun, it's interesting. You can see if they're progressing well, you can see if they're understanding something, and those regular routine checkups just to make sure that they understand it correctly works brilliant for us. So we know that they're progressing really, really well. So yeah, it's a great program.
I think some of the things I often say to a parent is we're trying to offer something that's different that school doesn't offer.
Yes.
And it is the learning pathways,
yes.
It's the program of materials, it's personalised to their needs, ability to do repetitive practice, move at their own pace.
Yep.
How do you think some of them things, Jay, sort of that learning at your own pace, and that's quite a key thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like Misha said, it's a tailor-made program. And I think I really want to say that it is very user-friendly for the managers. So
definitely.
That we've got a whole portfolio of modules. So even with the maths and the English, everything is split. So we've got addition and subtraction modules 1 to 4, multiplication and division 1 to sort of 6, I think. Fractions, decimals, percentages, shape, space, measure, data handling, everything. So we've got a huge portfolio of modules. And then each module is split up into blocks. And each block is then split up into sets. So where we're actually doing the skills test and we get trained on that, we will then do, at the time of assessment, we will test the child according to the specific topic. And then we will know, based on their test, which part of that topic they're fluent in and which ones they're getting a little bit more support in. And based on that, we can tailor make a package. And then once the child is more familiar, we can integrate, and complement more than one module at a time so that the child is getting a good all-round education. But again, it's tailor-made. So I have 4-year-olds sitting next to 14-year-olds in my class, and it's irrelevant. I'm not a teacher standing up and teaching one subject at a time. Yeah. I'm multitasking, and the children are multitasking, and that makes them independent study learners. So yeah, I really appreciate the actual modular-based system on first-class learning. And I think the other side of it is it's very uniform. So, the way the maths product is designed, for example, it's uniform across all the modules. And therefore, as a centre manager, once I learn how to implement one module, I can pretty much implement them all.
Yep.
And as a child, when they come in on a weekly basis, I will teach them how to do page 1 and 2 of that work, that set. And they can then go home confidently and be able to do pages 3 to 10 by themselves. And we set the work accordingly. And that uniformity, that gives them their sense of security, that confidence to build on their skills so that they naturally just are open to learning, which I marvel at. I think that is a real key point for first class learning, which I don't think anyone out there provides, to be
honest.
Well,
we're going to there's an element of flexibility to the first class learning and how you run it as well, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But just one thing I wanted to go back on was the skills assessment. So when I started, I spent quite a bit of time doing skills assessment, and across the network we all have our own style for doing that. But in nearly every situation, I've often been able to tell the parent more about their child, their strengths and areas to work on, than actually they get from school, and they're kind of blown away by that. So I think that gives me an idea how good our program is, that I'm able to then give an insight to a parent about their style of learning, or I wish school had said that. Yep. So I think their skills assessment, for me, is a bit undervalued. Would you agree? I think it's a massive tool we've got that's really unique.
100%. I think so. The way it works is, if a parent calls you up and they say, we're interested in tuition for your child, I go to the child's house. I spend minimum an hour with their child, an hour and a half, and just get to know them.
Yeah.
Although it's group tuition, it's it's individual learning, and the parents are not in the same room. I'm just with their child, and genuinely just want to get to know them. I'm not following what I think is right. I want to know this child, what they like, what they dislike, what they enjoy. And I love getting that relationship with them, building a friendship with them as well. And then after speaking to the parents about their child, it's exactly what you've just said. I touch base on, for example, she really, really loves this, but this is a little bit of a struggle, but she enjoys football. So if we can incorporate football into this, that might really help. And you can see the parents thinking,
this is amazing.
You've got to know my child. So although it's group tuition, although we're following a guide, it's so flexible, and you're getting to know these children individually. And I genuinely care for these people. I want them to grow, and I want them to feel confident. So the model really complements that, and I think it works well.
I think one of the things before we move on, is to say, as amazing as all that sounds, we just want to make it clear to everyone listening in that it's not that we happen to be just good at that as three individual people in the room. The program enables a lot of that to happen. So 100%. It's the support of the program that enables us to do that. So we're moving on to another thing that we're often asked about, but it links to support, and that's more support with practical things, perhaps finding a venue, things like that. So there's another aspect of starting out. It is a lot to take on, not only learning first class learning, but actually you're setting up a new business. So what other things, support and things you then get, like finding the venue, or other advice and guidance that you get? I think you mentioned mentor as well, Jay. So perhaps if we talk about some of them other things beyond just the actual first class learning sort of program and materials, what other support do we get?
So once you're onboarded and you've done the training, you then have access to the head office team, and we've got 2 support managers there that are there, well, I won't say 24/7, but pretty much on tap to help you with your onboarding, with your training, with getting your head around everything, and having access to the centre manager portal. And I think that is really important. We also have a forum, so you can have access to our network of managers.
This is the Facebook hub that we use,
Facebook hub. There's, I think, over 340 centres across the UK at the moment. So again, it's the culture of our organisation, because when I started this company, it wasn't as, the foundations that we've got, the infrastructure that we've got today, weren't what I had sort of 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, it was very much a community-based franchise where we were helping each other out because we didn't have as much support from head office in terms of the infrastructure. Now that we have, it makes everything a lot more uniform. But the ethos and the culture of the company was to help each other out, to have this family, to be part of a network. And we've actually kept that and carried that through, which is priceless, to be honest.
Very good. Really important.
It's a huge it's a huge part of our culture that we naturally just do it. So you can ask any question on that hub, and it will get answered by a wealth of knowledge out there. So that's really, really key point to make. I really do appreciate that kind of support.
But so the main part of the support as well is that I think we've got to balance that you've still got the individuality as well. So you get all the support that you need. Mm-hmm. They could help with ideas on finding venues, so more practical things as well. We can speak to the customer liaison officers at head office, ask them about what's the best practice to evenings to open, at best open at weekends. So we get support outside of the main tuition program. Mm-hmm. But I do like the fact that I think we can personalise it as well. So I'd made a note that you can decide what your own community needs, and that would be different in north of England, middle of England, south of England, Cornwall, and we spread across. So do you think there's an element of that you enjoy, that individuality to make it what your community needs?
Most definitely. And I think that was a key point to make, actually, Ray. We're not working for First Class Learning, we're working with them.
Yep.
Very
and
good
what
point,
I really like is that this is my business, this is my baby. I bring me into my business, I bring my skills, and I work to serve my local community, so that, if you look across the board, everyone's doing something slightly different.
Yeah.
Although we've got the branding and the uniform, we're also doing us. I'm also doing me. So whatever my community needs, and what works for me as well as a manager. Like for me, I opened on a Thursday evening because that suited me and my family structure. Other centres open on a weekend because that suits them. There's no right and wrong with First Class Learning, which is what you work within the guidelines, but you also have quite a lot of autonomy.
So it's the best of both worlds, because
really
that would be quite challenging. We touched on this before, but I want to go into a little bit more detail. So every new franchisee, when you start out, gets a mentor. And I think I had my mentor, was it 3 months or 4 months? Just talk a little bit about that and how sort of helpful that is, because it's this idea of a new language and setting out, not quite sure what you're doing, and having somebody there that you can call, I wouldn't say daily, but a fair amount of time. That mentor is a really big part, isn't it?
Definitely. I think, so I had my mentor for 4 months, and it's just reassuring having that person on the other end of the line. Didn't call them every day, but, we...
Possibly tempted to, but we didn't.
But we became friends, and it's just that reassurance and that confidence that, am I doing the right thing? Is this okay? But it's like what Jay said, we are a family, we are a community, but we have our own ideas of how we want to run things. So I might do something completely different to how Jay does something, but neither of us are wrong, we're right. So it's just that mentor saying, go for it, Amisha, you can do this. It works really, really well. And also the materials, it can be quite overwhelming. So after training, just making sure we're doing the right thing. Is this how we assess the child? Is this what we need to prepare? So that 4-month mentoring program is so beneficial and crucial, I think, and a great touch again from First Class Learning.
I think when I first started, that was one of the big things, because I don't come from a teaching background, and I had a big sort of concern about how can I do that. But actually, when I found out that you actually have a mentor to talk to, that was actually a big thing. That I thought, okay, I'm going to go down that route.
Yeah.
So another part that we often get asked about, that's a key to starting out, is the accelerator program.
Oh, brilliant.
And so let's talk a little bit about what's involved. So this is a marketing-based program, accelerator program. Perhaps if we have a conversation how that's helped you, what you know from other centre managers who spoke to you about the accelerator program, because I think that's another key thing that made me think, okay, this is a good franchise to be part of.
Yeah, so with the accelerator program, you get monthly webinars that you're invited to on a monthly basis. They share best practice, so things like how to optimize your Google pin, how to set up your Facebook and your Instagram feeds, and do some marketing through that so that you can generate more leads, more clients. We also get a website with First Class Learning, which is all templated as well, and they give us guidance and guidelines on how to populate those, get keywords in there, so that again we can generate a little bit more business that way. So that's really helpful in terms of the accelerator program.
And they also do ongoing on that as well. So, I know at head office they work on the sort of, it's called SEO, so the search engine optimization, that you get, inquiries and things. So that's quite helpful.
Yep.
But it's not only the technical things, we actually get some financial input as well. So actually they're going to pay for a certain amount of Google advertising, a certain amount of Facebook advertising, pay for some printed marketing. So I can't remember all the bits, but perhaps, Amisha, what kind of things can you remember that the accelerator physically gives you as well?
Yes, they give us a big banner, they give us an A-board, lots of leaflets, and like Jay said, they help us massively with Facebook groups, Instagram pages, websites, and like you said, just boosting our page. So, if someone Googles tuition, we're one of the top ones that come up.
Yeah.
I personally am not from a marketing background, so that support helped me massively, just to know that, we've got the support and people are marketing for me to help me grow my centre as well.
I speak to a lot of centre managers, and a lot of it is the marketing is the greater concern. I think there's other podcasts that we will talk about what kind of background and experience do you need to be a really good First Class Learning franchisee, and it can be that parenting skills, being a parent and helping your child, well, that's really good skills. But even if you've got them or you've been in a teaching background, doesn't necessarily mean you know marketing. And that's the one thing that I think, so having that accelerator program is a really important thing.
Definitely.
Right, I think one more to add is like with the leaflets, I know people talk about the tech stuff. I joined 10 years ago and tech stuff wasn't really a thing then.
Even now I think it's undervalued, so yeah.
So I think with the leaflets, I value those a lot because I used to go outside and stand outside my local schools in my area, hand out leaflets, and talk to parents. That would really give me a key starting point to actually have a conversation with parents. They get to know me, they get to see me, that it's safe to leave their child with me. I think it's really important, the face-to-face contact, which we don't want to lose, to be honest, and I think that's what First Class Learning does really well. And also the A-frames, the roller banners, things like that. I also go to summer school fairs and have the boards up and utilise, the marketing material, the physical marketing material that they've given us so that I attract parents. It's all branded. The image is all uniform across the board. So people are recognising us in our local communities now. It's more and more familiar. So the physical hard copies of the branding and the imagery is got a good presence in my local area, to be honest.
Even one of our successes was if the school agrees to give enough leaflets and they put them in book bags, which sounds really a basic thing, but actually it is gold dust, because it's almost that the school is endorsing that. They're technically not, but it's almost like, and any form of marketing, I always look at it from a perspective of how can I find my audience? Well, a child in a primary school in book bags, you can't get better than that. So there is a lot at the moment about the whole social world and online, but there's some, our own materials. We're a print-based business, and I think there's an irony that actually some of our best marketing is actually printed tangible items as well.
Definitely.
And it's good to keep that relationship with the schools. So I do every term phone up the schools and ask them if I can put the leaflets in their book bags. They ask me to bundle them up. So most classes have 30. Sizes, There's 3 classes of 30. I bundle them up so that's so easy for the teachers to distribute into each child's book bag. And they also take a few leaflets and a poster to keep on the notice board and in the reception.
Yeah, they do that a lot. Yeah.
Not all schools, we just have to point out you can, in your area you'll have schools that are positive and schools that aren't, but nonetheless it's just the idea is, we've got the accelerator program, it's given us a range of things, so there's a really good support from head office that if you're worried about that area, you don't need to be. And
they're very competitively priced, so when I need to buy more leaflets, we've got an online shop. The templates are all there. It's really easy for me to order more stuff. And it comes quite quickly and it's very competitively priced.
And it's all on brand, and we've worked hard over the last couple of years to getting our brand quite strong. So again, it's another worry. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to rate. All of that's taken care of for you. So that's quite good. A lot of this is obviously the positive side of how we're all working together, which I think is great. So it links a little bit to another point that people had raised with us, that it feels, we've mentioned it before, feels like a family. We have a family environment. Let's just talk about that in a bit more detail. So we've mentioned the Facebook Hub. What kind of conversations are happening on the Facebook Hub? How is it helpful? What kind of things of benefits have other centre managers got from that community?
I think, if a centre manager has just done an initial assessment with a child and they've made a suggestion of what materials to put them on, someone can reach out and say, is this right? Would you do something else? That they struggle a little bit with handwriting. Is there something else we can recommend? And people are very quick. Within minutes, we have responses of people helping. There are over 300 centre managers on this forum. So you will get advice from all different angles, and I think that's great.
It's always surprised me actually to how, not so much just welcoming, but everybody's, so we might be next to each other, but the reality is we're all working for the greater good of the First Class Learning brand across England.
Exactly,
which I think is so
we all have a genuine passion for helping these children. We don't have to be qualified teachers. It's just having that passion to succeed and to help these children, and I think we're all on the same page for that. And then not only the Facebook forum, we've got monthly webinars that are really reassuring and useful and helpful. And also we have a yearly annual conference, which is so much fun. We all get together and do different workshops and trainings and have a good party in the evening.
But it's just to catch up as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, you know, then
Really
you can
good.
see people that you might have spoke to during the year, and then you get to meet up. So there definitely is a nice family feel
100%.
to first class learning.
And you make genuine friends. Like Jay,
Yeah.
you came to my wedding, didn't you?
I did come to your wedding. And we have an FCL baby out of it.
Yes.
Very good. Perfect example of being part of a family.
Yeah.
It isn't all easy. So running a centre day to day can have challenges. It'd be like any business. And we've touched on that there is some people at head office, so customer liaison officers and things. What kind of support do you get? What kind of questions often come into there? I'm sure they're bombarded with all kind of strange and wonderful questions.
So yeah, Helen and Stu, absolutely fantastic. They're so helpful. Not there 24/7, but you know, if you have any queries or questions, they are there to support you. Things like, you know, starting and finding a venue. Although we have to go out there and find these venues ourselves, they do help us and give us suggestions of who to call and how to go about it.
I mean, you're going to know your own local area the
Exactly.
best, aren't you? So, but they can give you pointers what has worked,
what has worked in the past. So they're always around to help us out and to reassure us.
And Google is amazing, isn't it? Because like you can just type in, like I just type in my postcode and look for venues to hire, and Google could give you a list. And then I do like liaise with like Helen and Stu to say actually which ones of these are approved. They give us an idea of, like Helen, I think, has set up the safeguarding and the risk assessment guidelines, so we can go into venues, just make sure that actually, have I done my risk assessment? Does it fit in with the guidelines that First Class Learning have given me? So they do kind of approve the venues or give you advice as to which venues would be in your best interests to take on.
Something that's actually just come to mind now, which actually isn't on my notes to go through, but part of the venue as well is we've got detailed information about being Ofsted registered if you wanted to go down that route. So there's certain advice about that. So the fact there's a whole package on the portal that we can go to that then takes you through that in quite an easy process is another example of how sort of well supported we are. To growing your business. So we've got set up, we've had our support, we've got going, we're doing quite well. To grow any business, you need marketing. So we've touched on some of the bits we've got, but let's look at sort of the online presence. Do we get I tend to get quite a few inquiries through that. Socially, if you can share things in groups, but we've already said about the printed marketing as well. So is it a really hard business to market, or is it quite I think it's necessarily easy, but it's relatively easy to find your audience and get inquiries, would you say?
I think initially you need to get yourself out there, you know, stand on these summer fairs, bring your leaflets to people, introduce yourself. But I think for me personally, Facebook has been massive. Just introducing yourself to local Facebook groups, just saying who you are. And I found in my area, it's like a local community. So if you make one parent happy and you do a really good job with one child, they will recommend you to the world.
Definitely.
I think my main piece of advice is don't try and grow your centre within the first month and say, I want 60 students, because we're learning these materials ourselves. When I first started, I had my 6 students. I was so happy. I got to know them individually, and I was also learning the materials myself. And from there, they recommended me to other parents, and that's how it grew.
Because you took your time and you did a good job. You didn't rush in, and as we've said, that's almost the self-training that we spoke about before, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. It's completely new. You know, although it's based on the UK curriculum, it's a brand new learning material program, and I wanted to make sure I was confident and that I was doing a good job with them as well. And I think that pays off. So definitely that's my one piece of advice.
So as a mum of 2, I started with First Class Learning when they were 5 and 8 years old. And that was within my comfort zone, that I wanted to, take care of their learning and learning needs, but I grew as my children grow. And both of my children have done the worksheet and the worksheet-based program with First Class Learning. So as I got more and more familiar with that, you know, I started introducing more and more, but I became more and more confident and comfortable with the primary school market that I was taking on board at the time. So
we can identify a market. You know, there's a marketing challenge that if my target audience was everybody in the world, that's amazing. No, that's actually the last place you want to be, because it's really hard to target everybody in the world. So where you can have an understanding of if your children are in primary school, or even if you don't have children, but you've got an understanding of that. I think as a marketing challenge, it's easy to identify where there are going to be people that could need your help. Moving on, support that we've been speaking about, the dreaded COVID word. So COVID hit a lot of businesses, not something any of us was prepared for. I mean, the world wasn't prepared for. And we want to look at two aspects really for that. How the franchise supported us, which I thought they did a really good job of supporting us through a difficult time, let's be fair, but also how that's affected the education market and sort of starting up businesses, tuition business. Let's just talk first about then the support. It was a tough time, wasn't it? If we remember back, sort of nightmare of homeschooling.
It was so stressful.
Nobody knew what was doing and we didn't know how to react, did we, to the news articles, but we got a lot of help.
I remember hearing the news and feeling panic because I just started this business. I thought, what was going to happen to all my students? Heard of lockdown, schools being shut. I just can't believe it's happened now, looking back. But
it seems a distant dream.
It just seems
mad,
like a nightmare. But in an odd way, that happening has given me so much confidence in tutoring and education, because there is such a demand for education and tuition, and that awful thing that happened didn't detriment my business personally. It actually made it grow.
Yeah.
And the lack of schooling and the homeschooling, I mean, it doesn't work for every single child. I think that's when my existing students really, really came together with me more, and a lot more inquiries were generated to my company. And First Class Learning were absolutely brilliant with the support. So they helped transition this traditional pen and paper based model to online, completely new to all of us, but it worked. The parents in our community were so on board. You know, they didn't say, let's stop. They wanted it. Yeah. So we were delivering these lessons online. We were trained on how to give these materials outside all our students' doors.
Yeah.
But the community really, really got together there. We didn't give up, and it's a stressful time, but we managed to overcome it, and it gave me so much confidence after that.
And even as a time, I remember when we first started going back, sort of what are the current regulations? How far are we apart? What is social distancing in a school? And that was changing. And I was so pleased that I've got to admit, become a bit lazy. I couldn't watch the news. It was easier just to wait for head office to give me a suggestion as to, you know, what should I do? And I think we had quite a bit good communication. I'm not sure whether many other brands would have had that communication at that time. Would that be fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think although everything stopped for a moment, and I think we all had to gather ourselves and breathe and think about what was the next step forward. I think I would like to say that with First Class Learning, because it is such a uniform brand, because the system is so modular, our children had been with us quite a long time, and they work through, like most of mine start in sort of reception year 1, and they stay with me sort of year 6, 7, 8 kind of thing, so key stage 1, 2 and 3. They knew what to do with those worksheets. They didn't need me there per se. I work in my local community. I live in the area that I run my centre in. It was very easy for parents to continue that and pick up the worksheets. Now, at the time where the children were not going to school, First Class Learning as a company and as a head office got together and thought, well, how can we continue this service? And they helped us set up sort of Teams accounts and be able to deliver our classroom sessions on Zoom or Teams on a video. So I broke up some of my classrooms. I would have connections and contact with my students, and they really valued that because they weren't even seeing their own teachers. They were just lost and they were left to their own devices. Yep. So the fact that First Class Learning gave me the confidence to go and do this, because I wasn't really tech savvy either. And then I could then have this connection with my students and then just talk about the worksheets and talk about how they were getting on. And you know, things like mental health was a real struggle for everyone at the time. So
just to finish on COVID, I think that's a symbol of, if you're thinking of investing in a new business, you want one that actually could guide their team through that most difficult period. And the fact that a lot of centres have then come through COVID, come out stronger at the other end, I think that's a really good symbol of a good franchise to be part of. So it's going to be a bit ironic for the next bit that we just want to talk about, but it is really important. We've spoken so much about how well supported and how structured things are, the learning programs, the materials, the marketing we get, everything. But there is an independence that I think people need to sort of be aware of with First Class Learning, which is you can run it your own way. Yes. You can make it work for you. So although you're very well supported, you can make it fit within your own lifestyle and make it work that way. So perhaps we talk a little bit, finish on that kind of point, because I think that's really key. That, to me, it's the perfect balance of being able to do both.
Definitely. It's a super, super flexible business. And by saying that, you know, it doesn't mean you're completely left to your own device. You've got no support, you've got no guidance, but it's your baby, you know, it's your centre. And when I was looking at different franchises and deciding what to go for, who to go for, I loved this element of it. I wanted to feel like it's my own business. I knew I would probably run things a different way to someone else, you know, and they might run things, but that's okay. And I loved the fact that I'm left alone. No one's monitoring me constantly. Yeah. But if I need help and support, I can call someone. They will answer and help me. So
you don't want an area manager sort of calling you up every month. Oh, why are your numbers not up and things, which I think is happening to other models.
Yes, yeah. So it's so flexible, and that's the best thing about this, I think.
I think for you, Jay, something I know we've spoken about before that you said that just really resonated with me and stuck with me, and that's that it helps you to feel empowered. It's enable you to create something amazing for children, but to bring your qualities to it. Yes. So I think that's really key. Until you'd mentioned that before, I thought I hadn't thought of it from that perspective.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, and I get a lot of people joining because they're just so fed up in their own workplace. You're stuck within the rat race, and you kind of just a cog in the wheel, and that's quite demotivating. And I think that's what happened with me. And I was looking to be able to utilise my skills and progress. And with first class learning, the more energy I invest, the more passion I invest, and that's all of me. It's not really work. I can watch my baby grow and flourish, and I think that's so rewarding in itself.
Definitely.
That I'm able to be me and come out on top, which is amazing. Whereas, when I was working for other people, I just felt quite crushed at times. It was quite hard not to be able to be myself. So
I think we'll finish on that point. So it's a great one to sort of finish. The reality is it gives us the best of everything. If you're looking for a business where you want to have your individuality but feel supported, you're probably not going to get that in so many other places. No. So I think we'll finish there. Well, thank you both for your time. It's been great talking to you today, and I hope everyone would have enjoyed our insight into first class learning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thanks, Ray.